Hop in a hand for
Be careful. He's
and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Oh.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
Welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
And I almost missed the cue. Usually it's you that giggles, but I almost missed the cue on that one.
I'm sorry. I'm getting good at this producing shit.
You are. You got it nailed. And
Trying.
thank you so much for joining us this week and every week as you guys do. You guys have been awesome in supporting the podcast. We got some new reviews. And don't forget, there's only a week left to the month of June. If you give us a 5-star written review, you will be put into a drawing for a Live from the Acement Behind the Funny hoodie. So one more week to go. So please take the time to do that, and you will be put in a drawing for that hoodie.
Absolutely.
And we have our sponsor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm skipping around because I'm so excited about tonight.
I know. I'm doing the same
we
thing.
have so many good things going on tonight. So, hey, folks, here's the Jeffersons. We are drinking Ocean, which is their high end brand. We love all of them, but Jeffersons, we love you. Please get back to us. So Ocean, if you're not familiar with it, they basically put it in casks. They send it out on a research ship for 6 months. So it sloshes around. It picks up more flavor from the barrels, and then they bottle it, and it's delicious.
Yes, and each bottle, they tell you which voyage of the ship that it was on
really?
For the year. Like this one was voyage 23 of this year.
Oh, wow.
So they get that specific
cool.
with the ship. So it's got some interesting history behind it if you guys are into that type of thing. And there's a reason why we're doing the higher end brand.
Yes, we are.
For Ocean tonight, because tonight is our 200th episode.
Yes.
Of Behind the Funny. Unbelievable.
It's been a journey.
As
our friend Brad Pierce would say, it's been a journey.
It's been a journey.
But we are so excited because not only is it our 200th episode, but we've talked about guests that we've wanted to have on and bucket list guests, and the person that we have tonight has been a bucket list guest since last year, basically, when we had Paul Barkley on talking about the beginning of Boston comedy. And I've said it before, if it wasn't for Boston comedy, there wouldn't be a Rhode Island comedy scene. There wouldn't be a Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. New England comedy would not have happened without a core group of people that started the comedy scene in Boston. And so we thought Paul, because Paul was one of the original owners of the Comedy Connection in Boston, and Paul corrected us. He said, no, you know what? There's actually someone else that is the father of Boston comedy. And then I've started to see some Facebook posts over the past couple of months by people we respect, the Mike Donovans, the McDonald's, George McDonald even brought it up.
George McDonald,
Jimmy Tingle, when we talked to Jimmy Tingle, he said it. This guy is responsible for really starting it, and we've been so excited to have him on. And when he ever said that he was going to come on, I was just like, Scott, you're not going to believe who I have. So I'm not gonna
don't waste any more time.
I'm going to bring him in. But we would like to welcome to the Behind the Funny podcast, Mr. Sean Morey. Here he is, Sean.
Thank you. Have you tried Captain Morgan? I'm gonna make $1 here too.
I saw you talking to someone in the background, and I'm like, "What's he bringing over?" Oh, he wants to compete.
Sean Morey is brought. That's right. Sean Morey is brought to you tonight by Captain Morgan's Rum.
That's awesome. Thank you
Nice to
so
be
much
with
for
you
being
guys.
on. We, like I said, you heard it in the introduction when we talked to Paul Barkley and Martin Olson and Ken Rogerson, all these people that we respect in Boston. They were like, no, you got to talk to Sean Morey if you really want to understand the genesis of Boston comedy. You got to talk to Sean. And it was weird because when Paul said it, he said, "Have you ever heard of Sean Morey?" And I'm like, "Why do I know that name? Why do I know that name?" And then he said, "You ever heard the Man song?" I was like, "I used to sing the Man song all the time." I remember when it was on like every radio station in the country. And I didn't realize it was the same person, that sung that. So we're just so excited to have you on, man.
Thank you very much. I wasn't there for the heyday of Boston comedy, but
you kind of started it and then left, right?
You lit the fuse and took off.
Yeah.
See you later. Wouldn't want to be ya.
Now, if I remember correctly from when we had Paul on last year, Paul and Billy Downs took a class that you were teaching, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I was a street entertainer when I started out, and in the winter I needed extra money, so I started teaching comedy and improv. And those guys met in my class, and I taught them everything they know.
And they were such great performers.
Actually, according to Paul, he said Billy and I realized we weren't really funny, but we saw the potential for making comedy clubs.
I used to do a little bit. They would go, two guys bump into each other on a crowded street, and then they would walk by each other and bump in and keep going.
That was it. It's gold, Jerry. It's gold.
Which they stole from somebody.
Yeah, of course.
But they're great guys.
Yeah. So where did you grow up, Sean?
I grew up in South Jersey.
Okay.
I went to Northeastern.
Oh, so that's how you ended up in Boston. You were in Northeastern. Yeah. Were you still in Northeastern when you're doing like street performing?
My senior year, I started street performing. And then I went out to San Francisco. I had been to the Improv in New York.
Okay.
And that blew me away. And then I worked at the Holy City Zoo in San Francisco. I met all those guys. Robin Williams had just gone down to LA, and they were all buzzing about it,
Yep.
Yeah, it was really exciting. And that's when I really was just starting stand-up. I was mostly doing comedy juggling and comedy magic.
Uh-huh.
I said, I want to be a stand-up. Where should I learn, San Francisco or Boston? And I decided to go back to Boston, where I had my friends and I was familiar. And the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not just like a jump to the history. I mean, a lot of stuff happened. So you started doing street performing in Boston, and then you started teaching this class. Where was the class? Was it at Northeastern?
I would rent spaces.
Okay.
Sean Morey's comedy school.
Yeah.
I had no right to teach stand-up comedy, but I told my students we're going to learn together, and we would all work on bits and critique each other. Uh-huh. And I taught them the stuff my teachers at Northeastern taught me. I was a speech major, which was to give balanced feedback. You say something nice before you say something might be a little critical.
Yeah.
And I think that culture came from Emerson. My professors all went to Emerson. And so I was proud that we were a real supportive group, the early comedians. And I think it carried on even after I went out to LA.
I agree with that, because I think that is still kind of the culture here in New England now, because I started in 2000. So I started, much after a lot of the guys that we've talked to. And, there were guys like Tony V and, Kevin Knox and these other guys that would still give advice and words of encouragement and, pointers and things like that. And you'd go to work outside of New England somewhere, and it was a totally different feel and a different culture.
Yeah.
So I think that has lasted since
nice.
Since you brought that here.
It's that way a lot of places, but not everywhere.
No, unfortunately not.
There's other comics also.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a tough business, and you know, unfortunately not everybody wants to help everybody because we get a little jealous of each other at times.
Yeah. And when you see someone else doing well, you can't help it. You're like,
not everyone makes it to the top of the basement.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Or the acement.
Well, yeah, we made it to the acement.
Yeah,
so we're doing well.
Talking about.
Yeah. Not everyone gets down here. I don't know.
So that's now. Were you teaching that course before, like the Comedy Connection opened up and everything? Was that before?
Yeah,
that all started.
I had a show every Friday night at the Charles Theater.
Oh,
Cabaret
nice.
Down in the basement, and
Yep.
it ran for 9 months. And so my students that I met, and Martin Olson, we mentioned before the show.
Yeah.
Still my good buddy who lives out here in LA. I met him in one of my classes. He took my class and he became my piano player.
Yeah.
He played before the show when the audience was coming in, and in intermission. And sometimes I did a few songs in my show. And what was I going to say? So him and Paul and Bill, they would all come every Friday night, and some other comedians too.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would do a spot in my show. And then Paul and Bill said, we want to try and do a comedy showcase on Wednesday nights. And I said, go for it. And the owner said, yeah. And that's the place. And so they really started the comedy scene, but I started them.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. They started the scene, but you started them. If it wasn't for, Paul, as he said, just walking through Boston Common, seeing you doing, musical comedy in Boston Common, he wouldn't have had the idea to start a club or start a showcase. So who were some of those early comics that you that would come on?
There'd be Mike Donovan and Bill Campbell.
Steve
Billy.
Yeah.
Chance Langdon.
Yep.
Gene France.
Oh, all right. Yep.
Anyway, I'm sure I'm forgetting a few.
So we've had everyone on there except for Gene France and Sweeney.
They gave me a great send off when I went to LA. They put together like a Tonight Show. Right? And Donovan was Ed McMahon, and he was laughing.
I could totally see that.
I said, and it was really cool because a year later I was actually on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson.
Is that the clip that's on YouTube?
Yeah,
I saw that. I've seen that clip on YouTube. We'll have to put it up later.
That had to be
pretty cool when they were all watching it. That's when it became real to everybody. We can actually do this.
Right. So you were on the Tonight Show before the big, like, Stephen Wright, that because that's the other big.
That's the big one.
Yeah, that's like the big one in Boston. It was like, oh my God. The guy came in, he was visiting a college with his kid and came to a show, saw Stephen Wright and plucked him out and brought him out there. And then a week later, Johnny liked him so much that he had him on again, And so, but you were on even before that, right?
Yeah, I was on in 1980. I did 3 Johnnies.
Wow.
One of my fun stories, my second Johnny, I was doing a middle act because after my first Johnny, I got signed by William Morris Agency.
Oh, wow.
Pretty cool. And so they had me in Vegas in between Doc Severinsen and Andy Williams.
Oh, wow.
I needed me to do like 10 minutes while they changed the orchestra behind the curtain. So that was pretty cool. And they asked me to do my second Tonight Show, but I'm in Vegas with Doc. So they arranged that I would fly to LA, do the Tonight Show, and then go with Doc in his Learjet back to Vegas.
Oh, my God.
And I sat in his seat in the back of the plane because he was practicing his trumpet and he didn't want to blow it in my ear from behind me. So
really? Wow.
Oh, my God.
You're in Doc Severinsen's Learjet while he's practicing on the plane. Like, holy shit.
And I had Thanksgiving with Andy Williams up in the penthouse at the Hilton where Elvis used to shoot the TV and everything.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
And they're like, we can't get anything on this thing.
Yeah,
There's a hole in the middle of it.
Wow.
And that was it right after the whole Claudine Longet thing. Remember that? Anybody?
No.
She shot her skier boyfriend. You guys are young.
Yeah, I'm 53. He's 52.
Anyway,
so we might have been kids.
Scandal, and my girlfriend was like, "Don't mention Claudine." That was Andy Williams' wife who had left him for some skier.
Oh, really?
and he kept mentioning her the whole dinner, and I me under the table all night.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I got out of that in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Oh my, that has to be so surreal that, a short time before that, you're on the street performing in Boston, and you're teaching this class in a community college, and here you are in a Learjet with Doc Severinsen
and Andy Williams,
and having Thanksgiving with Andy Williams. I mean, that's just got to be, you got to like, that's a pinch yourself moment. Like, is this real right now? Because that back then, those celebrities were on such a pedestal compared to where people are nowadays.
Yeah, you actually had to have talent to become a celebrity back then. That's crazy.
Andy Williams, he used to open his show by coming in from the back of the room, and all of a sudden it'd be all dark, and you'd hear Moon River, and all the old ladies would go, oh,
and he'd come in from the back,
walk up to the audience to the stage.
Oh my God! Yeah, I remember. I remember my grandmother watching every Andy Williams and Perry Como special there was.
The Christmas specials.
The Christmas special, yeah. So did you ever get called over to the couch on Johnny?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It doesn't
open up that wound?
It doesn't necessarily mean anything. People think it does, but
really?
A lot of it depends on how much time is left.
Oh, I see.
But he always called me over during the commercial, and he would say nice things.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So when you went out to San Francisco, what are some of the who were some of the other comics that were out there at the time? Like, was it like Bobby Slayton and Amazing Jonathan, or was that before them?
Slayton was, I think, but I only met a few guys. Lorenzo Matawarren, he went by Buzz Belmondo later. You know him?
I don't remember him. No,
a Filipino character. He's an LA comic.
Yep.
And I'm blanking.
That's all right.
That's okay.
They weren't real famous guys, but they were really welcoming to me, it was very exciting because it was all stand up.
Right. Well, and like you said, if Robin Williams had just gone down to LA and started breaking, there was like, oh, who's next? Who's next? It's kind of like it was in Boston when Stephen Wright got picked. Everyone was like, who's next? Who's next? And then some guys made it and some guys didn't. But
now, as far as like you guys mentioned, we talked about the Man Song.
Yes.
How did that come to be, the big hit that it was? I mean, was that something you were doing as part of your act? Was that something
just a little bit? I just was a little bit of my act, but I used to do the Bob and Tom show a lot.
Yes.
They're out of Indianapolis.
Yeah, huge radio show. Huge.
Now they're nationwide, and they were just in Indianapolis at the time. But I used to do a little song every now and then on there. Whenever I did the comedy club in town, I would do their show. And I wrote the Man Song one day. Just came right out. It's not even my best song, but it was my biggest hit.
Yeah.
And it just took off like crazy in Indianapolis. But Tom said, you gotta record this, and he produced it.
Yeah. And then what did they do? They sent it to other radio stations?
No, I did.
You did? Okay.
It became real big in their markets. But then he produced my first album, and I hired a full-time employee to send it out and hand it, because it took off so fast. Me and my wife at the time were taking phone orders for CDs,
Yeah.
She was supposed to do that, but the phone would never stop ringing. Remember CDs?
Oh yeah, I got a whole closet right in this closet right next to us. I have about 800 out of the 1,000 CDs that I ordered of my CD.
I know.
Yeah.
I threw
I should just give them away at shows for coasters.
I only ordered 300 when I recorded mine. So
I ordered 100.
I want a copy.
I'll send you a copy. I ordered 100 and I went through the 100 in like 6 months. So I'm like, well, I got to get 1,000. And then CDs died.
I can relate.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, exactly. But
when we were answering those phones, I had to come in and answer the phones too, because it was like every time the phone rang, you made $15.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we couldn't handle it. We couldn't eat. You know, it was just nonstop, the phone ringing off the hook. So we hired a couple employees actually.
Yeah.
Good times.
Think about that. You have 800 CDs still in your closet. He had to hire employees to answer phones.
I could hire employees to go sell them on the street
for
corner.
CD sales.
Those guys that beg at the end of the off ramps could be selling my CDs. You know,
donate money for food. I'll give you an Ace Aceto CD.
Yeah, exactly. That's yeah. All right, let's not, because I'm going to start crying. No, so but I just remember, so in the Rhode Island market, 94 HJY was the rock station, and Paul and Al, who have been the morning show here for 35 years, I think. Least. They just celebrated their 35th anniversary. They used to play the man song all the time. And I was working in a pharmacy at a hospital at the time. And every time it came on, they'd be like, hey, your song's on. And I'd start singing it for everyone in the pharmacy because I knew every word. Because, you know, what made that song, even if it wasn't your greatest song, it was the biggest hit because it probably struck a nerve with every man and woman in a relationship. Because it's the man is talking about how he's in control, but he's really not. Yes. So the first line, the first part of every line is how he's in charge. And then the second part is, but he's really not. And that's what was great about it. So it struck a nerve with people.
I had that first line for a few years.
Really? Yeah, I don't take no crap from anybody else but you.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. I told you, I used to sing it all the time.
So then I don't know how I thought of that, but then I was like, that's funny. And then like a few years later, I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, oh, what if every line was the same way? You know, with the
right.
Rooney.
Right. Yeah, you build it. I wear the pants around here until I'm finished with your laundry. See, I know this.
I don't want to hear a lot of whining, so I'll shut up.
I love it. Yeah. So
it has a lot of jokes per minute.
It really was, because every line is a joke. Exactly. Yeah. And then you followed it up with the woman song, right? Or was that already out? And it was
no, I followed it up with that, and then I did He Said, She Heard.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I wasn't really doing that many songs, but once you start making money, you're like, okay, you want songs?
Oh, exactly. I got songs. Yeah, right.
Songs since then.
Yeah, right.
And I wrote the Hermaphrodite song also.
Oh, I don't think I remember
that one, but I want to.
I'm gonna look that one up.
What number do I call to get a CD?
Yeah.
96 songs.
Is your ex-wife still answering the phones?
She wishes.
Yeah.
For the money.
Yes, I know.
No, she's still my friend. We have a lovely daughter together.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I got an ex-wife with 3 kids, so we're friends too.
All right, good.
Yeah, you gotta, for the sake of the kids, you gotta.
Mine's not an ex yet.
Yeah, but you're not friends.
And we're not friends.
Yeah,
but she's not an ex. So you know, it's just the opposite. So
yeah. Scott's living the man song.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Still,
because I have 3 daughters, 2 that still live with me, and my wife. And the daughters
what's with all the grown-up kids living with their parents these days?
They use the excuse of they got to pay off college first. But
I'm part of a new group called Parents Without Borders.
please, I'll be like the puppy in the cage that's shaking and hungry for you. You know, with the Sarah McLachlan music playing in the background.
You love it.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
Oh you get spoiled.
So when you went out to LA, or you went out to San Francisco, then you came back to Boston, then did you go back out? So are you in LA now?
Yeah, I've been here 43 years or something.
Wow.
43
And
years.
so did you
me out here? My family followed me out, so I'm stuck here now.
You're stuck. Yeah, exactly.
Well, you might as well make a go of it.
Yeah.
Then.
It's
Well,
nice.
it was funny when we spoke to Martin Olson last year. He was like, "Yeah, you know," and I went out to LA and I came back to Boston and I brought Don Gavin out and then we went back to Boston. Gavin. Oh, I love Gavin. And he's like, "Yeah," and then I went back to Boston and Ken Rogerson came out. I said, Martin, you're like the Sacagawea of Boston comedy. You like literally just guided people across the country to get to LA and then you came back and brought them back, you know? So what have you been doing out there since?
Well, you know, it's been 43 years, so a lot of things. My career's gone through many phases.
Yeah.
I did the college circuit for a while, and I did cruise ships for a while.
Yep.
In the beginning, when I did those Tonight shows, it was a little early for me to do that because I was still like 1 year into comedy.
Right.
So I didn't have enough material. I wasn't able to write fast enough. So I did a lot of shows for big names, opening up for big names, you know, when I was with William Morris. And that was exciting, but it didn't pay that well.
Right.
So I just started doing the comedy clubs where I, you know, make a lot more money and be like the star.
Yeah. So, and did you like the cruises?
I had good times, but I hated it actually.
Really? Yeah. Like see, we hear a lot of love-hate with the cruises, you know, but
especially back then because you couldn't call home very easily. It was very expensive. You know?
Yeah.
But now with the internet, it's probably a lot better.
Yeah, well, yeah, if you get the internet, you can call people through like Facebook Messenger and stuff like that. It's a little bit easier to keep in touch with family.
So I find that interesting. So you got on the Tonight Show within, like you said, a very short time of starting your career. So you you got this notoriety very quickly, and then you get an agent, and so you're really not prepared to be the headliner on shows yet.
Well, actually, I was a headliner pretty early because I was so new in the comedy. The comedy scene was so new. There weren't that many headliners, you know.
Right.
But there was a lot of juggling in there.
But that's what I was going to ask you, is because the comedy scene was so new, was it like it is now where you were expected to go out and do 45, 50 minutes or an hour or something after you got signed by, you know, the William Morris agency and everything? When you got signed and you started doing these clubs, were you doing 20 minutes? Were you doing 40 minutes? You know,
I was doing 45. Back then,
45. Okay.
And how were you doing?
I was killing.
Good.
I killed.
Hey, come on.
It's Sean Morey. What'd you expect?
No, because you never know. Because sometimes when you're thrown into the spotlight too soon, you could struggle.
I've been working the streets for years, so you know that was really valuable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You on the streets. I had these huge crowds at Faneuil Hall and the Commons and Harvard Square. And you just learn to deal with all kinds of situations, all ages. I used to do stuff with the kids. So
you knew how to, you had the skill set to fill time. It's not like someone like nowadays, there have been people who get like, you know, they get on a TV show like America's Got Talent or whatever, and they have 5 minutes and then they get signed and then they're headlining clubs around the country, but they only have 15 minutes of material. You know, the difference is, even though you had your material that may have not been a full set, you had the experience to be able to fill time and entertain them in other ways. Right.
I probably did about 20 minutes of stand-up back then and did a whole bunch of crazy stuff.
Yeah. Well, like you said, juggling and music and
comedy magic.
Magic, right? Exactly.
But you still entertain the people for a full set. That's the thing.
Yeah, and that was in the first year, but you know, as years went on, it became almost all stand-up.
Right.
For the last 20 years, it's all stand-up and some music.
Yeah. Well, because I'm sure if people hire you at a club to come in and do stand-up, they want to hear the man song. They want to hear, you know, some of the songs as well. So that's now how obviously the pandemic hit all of us pretty hard. Have you gotten back out and started working clubs again or theaters? Not
yet. I've been kind of semi-retired for several years now, actually.
Really?
But I do occasional gigs and corporate gigs, and kind of I'm kind of antsy to get back on stage. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And yeah, you could probably pick and choose what you do, what you want to do.
Not really.
No, you shouldn't be picky and choosy, but you are. No. Yeah, but you must be.
The clubs don't pay as well as they used to.
Oh, no.
Nope.
We know. Listen,
LA, so if I fly to the East Coast or Midwest, I got to buy a plane ticket, got to rent a car, got to get a hotel.
Right.
It's like it can add up to $1,000 right there. So
do you get theater?
B3.
Do you get theater gigs out here, or is it pretty much still comedy clubs?
I've done a lot of theater gigs since radio fame. Yeah, I used to book them myself and, to buy radio advertising and then hope a big crowd shows up. Right. Because those, obviously, you make more money on a theater gig than you would, a standard club that seats like 200 or 300. When I was really drawing, though, I always had door deals, so that was very sweet. Right.
So you say semi-retired. So you're doing, how often are you working now that you're semi-retired?
Well, before the pandemic, just a few gigs a year, really.
Really?
Yeah. Just I'm always writing, though.
Yeah.
Writing jokes and sometimes movie ideas and stuff like that.
That never goes away, does it?
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't help it. We're creative people. Even if you're not, you're not up on stage, you're always thinking of something. I did the same thing. My daughter, more than a couple of years ago, I've been sitting on it for a while. My daughter lost a tooth, and that night she started asking me a million questions about the tooth fairy. And I was like, I don't know. You'd have to ask the tooth fairy. And she ended up going to bed, and she wrote out on 18 index cards, literally 8 interview questions for the tooth fairy. And so I actually thought it would make a really good children's book. So I've been sitting on this story for a children's book, and I have the whole outline worked out. And I just have to kind of figure out, all right, how many pages do I want it to be? How's the formatting going to look? But I have the complete story, and it's really just about, at that age, finding out information for yourself, like being proactive and learning how to advocate for yourself.
What was she, not 20? How old was she?
I'm sorry. Oh no, now she's 13, but she was like 5 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, she's 13, and actually she keeps saying, "When are we going to finish that book?" I go, "We got to sit down and finish it."
Well, but you think of the concept of a bit on stage of you interviewing the tooth fairy
for her.
Yes,
because I had to pick up those index cards all around her bed
on this podcast.
Yeah, she.
There you go.
She would come on the podcast, actually. Oh, the tooth fairy on the podcast. Yeah, that'd be
someone to play the part.
See? I don't think my daughter would believe it now, though. She's 13. She'd be like, "Dad, you're full of shit." But it is. We can't stop creating. If you're a creative person, you're always creating. That's the thing.
I think everyone likes to create.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's so many different. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I had a Christmas party once, and I put a big green Christmas tree on the wall made out of construction paper, and everyone who came had to make an ornament. I had a big table full of crafty stuff, and man, people went wild.
Yep.
Beautiful ornaments, and some people just sat at the table all night long making ornaments.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think everyone has a creative side to themselves. It just depends on what that outlet is.
Anything could be cooking or.
Right. Yeah. I did that during the pandemic. I started a Facebook Live cooking show. I'm not a chef. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I was bored out of my skull. So I was looking up recipes and making recipes and going live. And then next thing you know, I stopped doing it because, we're not in quarantine anymore. I have shit to do now. Mm-hmm. And people are like, "Hey, you haven't done your cooking show in about a month." I go, "Yeah."
People are complaining.
We're starving.
I don't get paid. It's not a real cooking show. I'm not a chef,
People are. I like that.
We're starving.
We've been waiting for weeks.
We're waiting for new recipes. Exactly.
Yeah, that would be fun to watch.
Yeah, if you go back on my page, you can look.
Good.
I've got a ton of the videos.
He
up
actually, one night we did a show. We have friends of ours that do a Facebook Live show, and we incorporated our show with theirs. And Ace cooked us all a meal while we were doing the podcast, and we sat down and ate the meal, and we talked about it, and we joked around, and had a good time, and it was fun. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was something a little different from our norm and from their norm. So it was pretty interesting to do.
I would incorporate that in the cooking show, or just have some people over every show.
Well, and you know, it's funny because I don't know. Do you know Chris McGuire?
Mm-mm.
He was a Boston comic, moved out. He wrote for he's written for a lot of Comedy Central roasts.
Oh, cool.
One of the head writers,
Yes.
and he's actually the producer and showrunner for the Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart cooking potluck show.
Yeah.
And he was telling me, he goes, dude, when did you become a chef? I'm like, I'm not a chef. I just went online and started cooking. And he said the same thing. He said, you should literally offer like a cooking class where people can come on with you, do a cooking show, and you teach them how to cook. I said, well, listen, if we can monetize this shit, I'd be all for it, because we don't monetize any of it. You know?
Can your ex-wife answer the phones for people calling to sign up for his class?
Yeah,
and come in, and
that'd be great if she could book the appointments. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Now, have you been hired on any writing gigs or anything like that for anything while you're out there in LA?
In the early years, I wrote for a show called The Big Show.
The Big Show, yeah.
The guy who did Hollywood Palace. It's a real old show. He was trying to bring back variety, and it's pretty cool. My agent got me an interview to be on the show. It's a variety show, and so I had my little tape of my first Tonight Show, and which they had already seen. And I get there, and he had all the writers in his office with him, just by chance. So I met the writers, and they watched my tape, and they said nice things and everything. And then how do you get to be a writer? And he said, "Oh, you want to be a writer?" He said, "Well, you got any material?" I said, "Well, I could bring you some." He said, "All right, go out and come back in a few hours." So I got my little Volkswagen bus, and I drove to the top of Griffith Park, the observatory, where you can look over the whole city. And I got in the back, and I started writing ideas. And I went back to meet him, and I showed him my stuff, and he hired me.
Wow!
And I worked with great writers and all these great stars. Were our guest hosts. I worked with Sid Caesar and Steve Allen. It was awesome because it was really old Hollywood. These people who.
Right, yeah, the originators of the old variety shows. Yeah, oh my God,
I was on the show twice, prime time NBC, so that was pretty cool.
Yep,
it was a cool experience. Although when I was done with it, though, I was like, screw this.
Really?
Because it was hard. I it's like writing 10 to 6. You're writing all day, and your brain gets tired, and you still got to keep writing. And I like being a comedian where I sleep as late as I want, and then I. Play some golf,
I do this.
A half-hour show, and
I do the same stuff I did last night and the night before and the night before, and there's not that pressure to have to write something all the time. Yeah I've always been. I have so much respect for people who become writers or punch-up writers on shows because, I could be funny. I could be funny on a daily basis, but if you sit me in front of a notebook and say, okay, in 6 hours, you better have some funny shit written down on that notebook. I don't think I could do it.
Well, we talked to Brian Kiley last week, and
he's a friend of mine. He's great.
Yeah,
great guy.
Worked for Conan O'Brien for 27 years. Yeah. Every day you got to come up with stuff. And I had asked him about that. Is that, are there days where you're just like, I got nothing. Because the pressure of doing that.
Sean Morey's comedy school. That's what I recommend.
All right, we'll do it.
Call my ex-wife.
Yeah, call my ex-wife.
It's funny. I keep calling and I can't get through. The number's busy.
She's not answering. What happened?
The number's busy.
She tried selling us a CD when we called.
It's funny, Sean, because one of the questions we love to ask people is, wow moments they've had in their career. Like, what was that first moment where you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm here right now? I would say being on Johnny Carson. I would say being with Andy Williams and Doc Severinsen
on the plane.
And, you know, and Sid Caesar, Steve Allen, 2 comedy legends. I don't know that you can, you know, top any of those with any wow moments in your career. That's pretty impressive.
I got lots of stories.
I don't know. I was just gonna say he's got a look in his eye like, oh, I got better stories.
Well, that's why I throw it out there in case we've missed any highlights that you've had that you want to throw in. Because
was there like a time where you literally were like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm here,
or with this person?
Plenty of them. I remember when I first did my first Tonight Show, it was pretty wild being behind the curtain, you know?
Oh, you're just waiting for it.
Millions of people are out there I'm going to walk out there in front of millions of people. And I was so nervous, and my sweat smelled like it never smelled before or since.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? You know, it's my hormones were going crazy. And I was so nervous. I kept repeating my first line over and over, just got to get started, you know?
Yeah.
And then the curtains open up and walk out there, and it was awesome.
Wow. Now, how many
started? I relaxed a little bit.
How many people were in the actual audience on the Tonight Show? Was it like 300 or a couple?
Probably a good guess. Yeah, I don't really know, but something like that.
Well, so when you're thinking about that, once you get out on the stage, are you thinking about the people in their living rooms, or are you just thinking about, all right, these are the people that are going to laugh. I need to make these 300 people laugh. You know,
you know what it's like. That's your audience right there.
Right. Yeah. Because if they laugh, the people at home are going to laugh.
I know. Right? You know what's weird? Did you ever tell a really good joke and it doesn't get a laugh for some reason?
Yeah. Oh, all the time. Yeah. Plenty of times.
I'm not familiar with that at all.
No, I know exactly what that is.
Never.
I mean, but you know that it's a funny joke that usually works. You know?
That's the worst feeling.
One joke on Carson or Leno. I did 3 Lenos also. And it bombed. And later on, my brother said, "Don't ever tell that joke again." He was so upset.
Really?
And it was a good joke that always worked.
Right. You know? That's the thing. Doesn't it drive you nuts? Because you're like, wait a minute, this works all the time. What do you mean this isn't work? Like, you guys
if the audience doesn't laugh.
No, you have to move on, right?
Thinks it's funny. It's like the audience, people who are listening at home or whatever audience, the audience is part of the show.
Right.
If the audience doesn't laugh, that's not a good show.
Right. Well,
even
that's
though
what I
the
mean.
Material might be great. You know what I mean? It's like we're just so interested in other people, you know, and what's going on, the whole scene, right?
We need that validation. That's what makes us know that we did a good job, is that validation of the laugh.
Them know. And if you ever start bombing and then it gets worse and worse because the audiences can't even hear you anymore. They're just like, oh my God, he's bombing. They're not even listening.
Yeah. Oh.
Not that I would know either. I don't know about it.
No, I'm sure.
You've heard about it from other people.
Other people have told you.
There is nothing worse than when you bomb. So you go, all right, I'm going to tell something I know always works.
It's going to work.
And then that doesn't work.
You're like,
when you get in a hole.
And then your head your head starts spinning like, I don't know how to get out of this now.
What do I start doing? Should I tap dance? What do I do?
You're reaching for the ripcord. That's it. I'm pulling the shoe. I'm trying to get out of it. That's the worst feeling in the world. I got nothing left.
No. You got to sacrifice like 3 or 4 great jokes just to climb out of the hole.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all going to get subpar response, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the worst. I can't, I hope and pray one day I know the feeling of standing behind a curtain like that.
I would love that.
Waiting to walk out.
But it's not like it used to be. Now, I mean, it's not even, there's not even that many opportunities to do that.
Unfortunately, most of the late night shows don't do comedians anymore.
No,
it's crazy.
None of them do. Well, I do have to say I was a little nervous when I went on Bill Campbell's Chelmsford, Mass. cable show.
Yes, we've both done that. Bill Campbell's.
Hey, I was not invited on that.
Oh, we'll talk to him. We got an in with him.
Yeah,
it's so funny. We had Bill on like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and he was like, and Bill, he's so humble, and he's like, God, guys, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. How long is this? An hour? Oh yeah. Right. And then we get to the end of an hour and a half. He goes, "Oh my God, guys, that was so much fun. I had so much fun. We only scratched the surface. I'll come on again." You know,
you guys are good at what you do. That's why.
Thanks, man. We really appreciate that. Martin had said the same thing. We just want people to feel comfortable. Look, she's bringing him another Captain Morgan, or is she passing you notes?
I'm getting notes from my producer.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
I'm shaking the camera.
Oh, she could see you shaking the camera. That's why I kept looking down at my laptop, going, "Am I bouncing the camera?" Oh no, it's you.
It's LA. It's LA. Oh.
It's an earthquake.
Don't do that. Yeah, people are gonna panic.
No, I got the laptop on a box, so it's higher.
Oh, all right. I see.
It's kind of like on radio when the radio.
Very professional over here.
No, hold on. I just want to show a couple of comments because this is live. We've gotten some comments. Mm-hmm. So our friend Jen, who is a fellow Jeffersons, we actually got her to start drinking Jeffersons because we drink it on the show. She said, "Happy 200th show."
Thank you, Jen.
Leslie said, "Best show ever in Eugene, Oregon a few years ago." So I don't know if you remember that one, but you must have had a great show in Eugene, Oregon a couple of years ago. Because
Ace and I have never been to Eugene, Oregon, so they're definitely talking about you.
Yeah, Sean. It's definitely you, not us.
Yeah, I've had some good times there. That's a great town.
Oh, good.
Awesome. And then Jen says, "Cheers." Cheers, Jen.
Cheers, Jen.
Well, over on Facebook, we can't.
Oh yeah, that's right. There, yeah, we're doing it on Facebook Live too. So there's comments there.
Congrats on the 200th. Love watching these. So much info. That's from Margaret Dodge. Thank you, Margaret. We love sharing these infos. She also said, "I think Doc was at the Showboat in New Lebanon, New York."
All right.
Your sister,
my crazy sister-in-law said this guy looks kind of like David Spade. No, he doesn't. My sister-in-law is drunk right now, so don't even pay attention to that.
What about Eric Clapton?
Eric Clapton. I'll go with Eric Clapton.
Go.
Yeah,
I heard that once.
That's better. I like that.
I heard Spade. I heard Dana, but now I'm an old geezer.
Yeah, no. So how often do you ever get back to the East Coast? Like, do you ever get back to Boston?
I was in Rhode Island a couple months ago.
You were? And you didn't look us up? We would have had, you could have been
next time.
Sean, you could have been in the Acement with us. Literally. Next time you're in Rhode Island. So what were you doing in Rhode Island? What were you
I have a very good friend who lives across the border in Wiggity Quack. That's right over the border from what's the name of that town? You know where Watch Hill is?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What's the town? Westerly?
Westerly. Yeah.
Right over the river.
Oh, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, like it's part of Stonington.
Yeah.
Part of Stonington.
Yeah. So.
Oh, all right.
A little college reunion there, and
nice.
Yeah, I love it there. I love Rhode Island.
Well, listen, man, seriously, next time you're in the area, let us know. We'd love to have you in the Ace.
You can try some Jeffersons.
We'll drink Jeffersons. You can bring some Captain Morgan.
Well, yeah, awesome. Ace will even get some Captain Morgans for you.
I'll get a whole jug of it for you.
I got drunk on stage in Louisville, Kentucky.
What happened?
How did that go? Because I've done that once.
I kept sending Maker's Mark up to the stage.
Oh, really?
That's a Kentucky bourbon.
Yes, it is.
Yep.
I had to be polite.
Yeah, of course. Oh, was that the story you said you were going to tell about Kentucky bourbon before the show?
Yeah, I barely made it through that show.
Oh,
I don't articulate that well when I'm sober.
Yeah, right. Yeah, none of us do. I know the feeling.
That happened to me in Maine. Mm-hmm. It was one of my first times closing a show. And I'm in Portland, Maine, not at the Comedy Connection. There was another room in town, and they kept sending up shots. And so I'm doing the shots because, like I said, you don't want to be rude. And it's this little rock club, and it was a cool little room with a cool vibe. The only problem was all of a sudden, halfway through my set, they kick in because I hadn't eaten anything yet before the show. So I walk over to the side of the stage to put my hand on the metal rail to steady myself for a second. Every time I touched the metal rail and I'm holding the microphone, it would backfeed. So you'd hear, boom, through the whole, every time. So I couldn't touch it.
Yep.
So I had to go over and I'd have to touch the stool and lean on the stool. And I finally had to ask for some water. And I'm like, okay, I'm never drinking during a show again. That was the one and only time.
Too much electroconductivity.
Oh my God. There was no way to save myself from that one. So.
All right, hold on. We got a couple of more comments that came up. Leslie says, yes, Eric Clapton.
There we go.
And then Jen goes,
hi, Leslie.
Jen goes, Stonington is very close to me. I've never heard of Wiggity Quamp.
Not Wiggity Quamp, Wickety Quack.
Wiggity Quack. Get it straight, Jen. Which is part of Stonington, I guess.
Are you calling me a liar?
No.
I
and I didn't know if you meant Mesquamaket, which is in Westerly.
No, I've been there too.
Yeah, that's where the
Wiggity
beaches
Quack
are.
is a tiny little town right around there.
It's like a village part of Stonington, right?
I just like saying it.
Wiggity Quack.
Well, I also think Jen B, how you doing, has been drinking along with us tonight.
Who?
Hi, Augie.
Jen. Oh, yeah. Oh, Sean says Augie is watching too. I don't know.
These are
Augie.
friends of mine. They're friends of mine.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
They're family.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us. So,
I love you guys. Miss you guys.
I think we need to ask our favorite question.
Yes. And so so someone who has, probably been doing comedy now for
45 years.
45. Wow. 45 years.
And with the star-studded career you've had, you might not be able to answer this question.
Yeah. But I think you could. Because anyone who's been doing comedy more than 6 months has this story. So we always ask our guests at the end of the show to tell us a funny, bad gig story. And let me give you a little bit of background. This whole question came out of, we did an episode in season 1 where we had a panel of other comics and we tried to come up with the top 10 situations where the name of the episode was, it's going to be a bad gig when. And it was, these are the situations where it's going to be a shitty gig because one of these or multiple of these.
Yes. When you walk in and see any of these, as a comedian, you're like, oh, this is going to suck.
Like, oh, you needed a sound system? Or,
the sports bar, and we're just going to mute the TVs, but we're going to leave them on during the playoffs.
During the Bruins playoffs. Or there's kids in the audience, or, hey, you guys are a surprise.
Yes.
We didn't tell anyone there's a comedy show.
The crowd doesn't know there's a comedy show tonight.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though, Sean. We tried coming up with a top 10 list, and we couldn't narrow it down beyond 12.
I want to see that.
Oh, yeah. So we didn't do that one video, but we'll
send you the link to the episode.
We'll send you the link to that one because it was pretty funny. But yeah, so we're just looking for those. It's that gig that where the night it happened, it wasn't funny. It was just a horrible gig, and it made you like go, do I really want to be doing this? Or as Scott says, hey, I wonder if Enterprise Car is hiring,
Yeah.
But the further away you get, you're in the green room with other comics, and you're telling war stories, and this is the one you pull out of your hat.
Your one-up story.
Yeah. Oh, you think that's bad?
I don't have one that's great. I many times at a corporate gig, you'll see those signs.
Yeah.
Yep.
The sound system is better. The speakers are the little round speakers in the ceiling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or there's gigantic centerpieces on all the tables so people can't even see you, But there was one when I did the college circuit where a student, I would just show up at these colleges. I would do like 10 in a row sometimes. And these students, they dropped the ball. I don't know what happened. They hired me. They were going to pay me $1,500, but they forgot to advertise the show. And it was like a daytime show. And they were surprised to see me. And like I wanted my check.
Yeah, exactly.
So I made those two guys come over. I kidnapped two other people walking by. And then there was a janitor. And I gave them the full 1 hour show that I would give any audience.
All 5 of them, right?
It lasted 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yep.
You really miss those laughs.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh.
yeah, the only one that comes to mind.
No,
that was
those,
a $1,500 rehearsal. is
yeah,
what that
exactly.
was.
Exactly. And you know, the scary thing is, this is why colleges cost so much. They paid you, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They paid you to entertain.
Well, a lot of those old gigs, those corporate gigs where it's not a comedy audience.
Yeah. Yep.
Just how it is. You're just up there counting the minutes.
Yes, exactly.
That check, and then I'm gonna go get a drink and block this out of my memory forever.
And forget it forever. Yeah. I work.
Painful.
I work in the corporate world during the day, and we actually in the past have hired comics at our national meetings. And I think I've told this story before. My company hired Greg Giraldo to go up in between sessions to entertain people. And I don't know if you remember Greg Giraldo. He passed away, unfortunately.
Sounds familiar.
He was one of the funniest guys. He was one of those guys on Comedy Central roasts all the time and stuff. Very, very funny, very well respected. But he, I don't know how he ever got the corporate gig, because the two senior vice presidents of East and West were both portly people. And he got up in between a couple of sessions and he goes, wow, they had just gotten done talking. And he gets up and he goes, wow, evidently there's a weight requirement to become a vice president at this company. It was the last fucking time we saw him all week. I went up to him at dinner that night. I was like, dude, that was the funniest thing, but you're never going to work for this company again, right? He goes, yeah, I kind of got the sense. But you know what? You get your check and you get the hell out. And that's the thing. And colleges, you never know. I've done colleges where they have been absolutely the best audiences. And then I've done the same college 3 years later and I've gotten kicked out. Like I've done the same material in front of these kids and it's just totally different. And then one day you're in a big hall or an auditorium. And then another time you're in the cafeteria in front of like 25 people.
When it comes to college,
80.
Yeah,
80. Yeah.
But with college too, it also depends on worldview and politics and culture. At the time,
absolutely.
Too, because I have, like I said, 3 daughters. They're 28, 25, and 21, and they have very different views on world and politics and stuff like that from their college experiences. So my oldest, I never would have wanted to perform at her college. My youngest, I would perform for her and her friends in a second because they don't think the same way. They're very different the way that they think. So I think that also comes, kind of cyclical too.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did a show once and I was supposed to be real clean, and I have some R-rated material,
right?
And I was trying to clean it up, and I went over the line on the joke, and everybody got all uptight, because the owner, it was a supermarket chain or something, and the owner was back there, and everybody kept looking at him, and I was bombing, and so I started saying, "Quit looking at the owner."
Right? Yeah.
Talking about what was happening in the room, and making fun of it, and then everybody started laughing again.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
And there are times when we've told those stories on the show before where, I did a show at a country club and the manager at the country club said we had to be squeaky clean. And I was the first comic up of 3 and it didn't go well, my set. And the second comic goes up and starts blasting the people and didn't worry about being clean. And they loved her. And, it was because the manager made the decision for the crowd. And the crowd was not the ones that wanted
that's almost always the case.
Right. Yeah. It's always one person making that decision for everyone else.
And we do a lot of fundraisers, and it's the same thing with the fundraisers. One person on the committee is worried about worried about the material for everybody else, and everyone else is fine.
Right. Yeah. Right.
That's the tough part, with these sometimes. But and
it's happening too when you're up in front of the audience. And you see everyone looking at that one person. And it's like, shit, really? Like I did a corporate gig a couple of years ago up in upstate New York, and everyone was looking at the CEO and the president. And I'm like, why are you looking at him? Stop.
funny.
Why are you worrying about him? I said, where's the HR person? And they go, she's in the bathroom. I go, so fuck it. Let's have fun. Don't worry about her. Like, she's going to come back. She'll be fine with it. Let's have some fun until she gets back.
But you have a nice, likable way of winning them over
saying it
with something like that. Whereas I tend to go after the one person.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
that was the asshole about it.
I know.
And that's the difference.
That's what you do in a comedy club or a regular show, right?
I know.
That's the greatest thing about our job. You can just say anything you want, and
right,
it's funnier when it's real, right? But then
right.
censoring you, it's kind of like ridiculous.
Well, yeah, you're holding
for the show, right?
And if you're holding back, especially from teaching comedy classes, if the audience smells any type of fear, you're dead in the water.
Yeah.
If you are 100% committed to the joke and you're holding back because you're worried about what other people are going to think about it, it's not going to work. It's not going to fly. That's one of the things we've talked about Dane Cook on this show before. And Dane Cook gave just as much of a performance in front of 25 people at the Comedy Connection in Boston as he did in front of the thousands of people at Madison Square Garden. You have to be like that. You have to not care about what other people are thinking, because if you pull back on your performance, they're going to understand that. They're going to smell that, and you're not going to do well,
Yeah.
Well, if you give them everything you got, they remember that.
Right.
No matter how big you get. So
exactly.
Well, this was an absolute pleasure to have you on, Sean.
Man.
I mean, we've been looking forward to this, and it certainly didn't disappoint. And to me, this was a perfect 200th episode.
Absolutely.
I am honored to be on the 200th episode.
Yes.
Thank you.
It was a nice way to kind of, bring full circle all these stories about, Boston and the start of the Boston comedy scene and everything like that to finally have you on after being mentioned so many times. So thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. You guys are great. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. And a couple of more comments came in. Leslie says she misses you too. And then Debbie Levy-Smith says, hey,
Debbie!
Sean, what about a 10-year reunion at Zaberers?
Oh, I did a show at my 10-year high school reunion. I did a little set, and that was a mistake.
Yes, I know that feeling, brother. I know that feeling. They asked me to do it at the 5-year reunion. They asked me to do it at the 10. And it's like, no one's paying attention to you. They don't give a shit.
They're there to talk and visit.
Exactly. It's so nice to hear that you went through the same thing that I went
Thanks
through.
for reminding me of that, Debbie.
I was asked to at my 30th, and I told them no.
Yeah, see, you were smart. I was the idiot that said, okay.
Yeah, me too. But that's how you learn.
God. Yeah, you learn, and then you say, no, come and see me at one of my shows where you're in my house,
Plus, at a comedy club, you have comedy fans.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
There's a lot of people out there that don't have a good sense of humor.
Right. Well, and people at a comedy club or a comedy show are there to see comedy. People at a class reunion aren't there to see comedy.
They want to catch up with everybody.
They want to catch up. They want to talk to people. It's not their fault. Exactly. Yeah. It's not their fault that they want to do it that way.
And again,
except it was Debbie Levy's fault, though.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it's another situation where they weren't told there was going to be comedy before you got there.
Exactly. It's like, hey, remember this guy? He's a comedian now. Let's have him come
some of the blame. At my reunion, I was like, I wanted to show off. Hey, I'm a comedian.
Yeah, exactly.
Jokes for you, bomb.
And that's when you have to say, hey, I had a comedy class named after me. Have you ever heard of the Sean Morey comic?
What's been named after you?
Yeah, exactly. yeah, right.
So, Sean, is there anything we could promote for you before we sign off here? Perfect.
Nothing.
Perfect.
Well, hold on.
That takes all the pressure off, which is perfect.
I'd like to promote the LA Clippers. We're going to win tomorrow night.
All right.
Ooh,
all right.
Pressure's on.
All right.
Pressure's on.
Well, I just put up at the bottom a little ticker. So if you want to check out Sean, comedy clips, music clips, his website is awesome. Scott busted my balls today because I wanted when I posted it on Facebook, I just pulled your whole bio, which I loved, because you know what? My very first bio was very similar. I started with the Ace Aceto is where comedy clubs, blah, blah, blah. And then I put in parentheses, do you really care about any of this stuff?
Funny.
Isn't this hacky? And so I loved your bio,
but
so I put the whole thing up. Wait, because I didn't have time to edit it down. So this one busts my balls today and goes, oh, couldn't find much information on him. And I go, yeah, I didn't have time to edit it. You know what that's
Sean,
like, because he never edits any of these shows.
Sean, you're a writer. You know, when you're advertising a show, it's about teasing the show. Give him a little bit of information. You put his life story on a post.
I wanted people to know who the fuck was coming on this show.
You don't put multiple paragraphs on a social media post.
Okay. So
you guys got to get in therapy.
Yeah, I know. I know. We need couples therapy, right? I know. No, but we always joke about how if you go back and listen to episodes, you'll hear conversations of us saying, oh yeah, no, we'll edit that out. No, we won't. Scott never edits. No, you're right.
Because I believe in organic conversation.
And you literally hear that exact conversation, you know? So no, listen, we really appreciate you coming on. We love to, if you ever come back to Rhode Island or meet us Squamish or wherever you go right over the border in Wickety Quack. We'll come down to Wickety Quack. I'll tell you what, we'll call up Taylor Swift. We'll see if we can use one of the rooms in her mansion, and we'll do an episode there.
And dinner's on us.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. I'll come to you.
Because back before we started doing all of this, live Zoom, StreamYard type stuff, we used to actually meet people for dinner and just kind of hang out and have a dinner. Do you know Red Peters?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy that How's Your Whole Family. He's another song parody guy.
I've met him. I haven't met him in person, but we've communicated.
Awesome guy. And we had him on, and we literally took him out to dinner, and had a great show. And then unfortunately we had Frank Santarelli on. I don't know if you remember Frank Santarelli from Boston. Yeah. But Frank Santarelli was a little peeved that we didn't take him out to dinner. He's like, what kind of shit is this? I don't even get dinner. Don't you know I'm Georgie from The Sopranos?
Greatest show in the history of television.
Greatest show in the history of television. What's wrong with you people? But no, seriously, in all seriousness, thank you so much for being on tonight.
Thank you. That was a little trip down memory loss lane.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
And we seriously, if you ever get back to the East Coast, let us know.
I will, definitely.
And we told Martin Olson the same thing. So if you and Martin can arrange a trip,
travel together.
If Sacagawea can arrange a trip back to the East,
the Olson Trail.
Oh my God, that would be amazing to be able to hang out with you guys. So thanks so much, Sean. We appreciate it. And we'll be in touch. We'll talk to you soon. We'll let you know when this episode is actually
I'll get you my Zelle information.
All right. Yeah, definitely.
So you can Zelle me my pay.
All right.
Perfect.
All right.
You got it.
Thanks, Sean. Have a good one.
Didn't disappoint.
Did
not disappoint in the least.
Honestly, this was I couldn't think of a better way to have a 200th episond.
I was thinking about it, like the 100th, first 100 episodes was big, and we did a clip show for the 100th, which was perfect for the 100th. But a 200th, to have a guest like him that kind of wraps up the story that we've been working on,
which we didn't set out to tell the story of Boston comedy. It just kind of organically happened.
It fell together like that.
It started when we had Mike McDonald on, then Mike Donovan, then Ken Rogerson, even back to Tony V when we had him on. And then when Paul Barkley brought it up, I was just like, oh man, wouldn't it be so cool to get Sean? I knew him from the Man Song. I didn't realize, not for nothing, and I can't say this enough. If it wasn't for Sean Morey, there wouldn't be, every comic in New England owes their career
was a
to
debt of
Sean
gratitude
Morey.
to Sean.
Absolutely, because he started it. Because there weren't comedy clubs in New England before that. The only comedy clubs were in like New York. That was it.
Right.
You know? So he single-handedly, without really meaning to, like you said during the show, he lit the fuse and left before the bomb went off.
Yeah.
But once the bomb went off, you have to give credit to the person who lit the fuse.
Absolutely.
You know?
And everyone we talked to did.
Everyone. And what got me to really reach out to him, because we had been talking for a while about me reaching out to him, and I saw Mike McDonald post something about Sean maybe about a month or two ago. And he was like, honestly, this guy does not get enough credit for what he did. None of us, not one of us, would be here if it wasn't for this guy.
Awesome.
And to get that from Mike McDonald, I was like, holy shit, I need to reach out to Sean. And I can't tell you. He immediately got back to me within a day and was like, yeah, I'd love to come on.
And we didn't plan for him to be the 200th episode.
No.
Actually, when I got here tonight and Ace was here, I said to him, hey, do you realize that when we do tonight's episode, this will be our 200th episode? He's like, really? I said, yeah. When I looked at as what's coming out, when this will be the 200th, and it just fell into place perfectly.
It was almost like
it's the way it was supposed to be.
That's serendipity.
Yes,
that's a big word.
I'm not going to spell it. I can
know.
tell you
I'm
that.
not spelling it, but
thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed that, because I know we did. I can't say enough. Sean was an unbelievable guest and really just was able to just that chapter to the end of that great story that we've been able to tell over the time. So, and again, just a reminder, 5-star review is the best way to help the podcast. Wherever you download your podcast, give us that 5-star written review, quick couple of words, and that will enter you, as long as it's in by the end of June, into the contest for a free live from the Acement Behind the Funny hoodie.
Yes.
And we'll be happy we're going to draw that on the first show in July.
Yes. So I'm just going to drop a couple of comments. Unfortunately, these came in afterwards, but Richard Smith said, get Sean to juggle. I don't know if Sean was ready to juggle. 30 some on years after Johnny Carson. And then Pamela Wong said, I love this funny guy.
Yes.
I wonder if Pamela Wong, I used to call on a allergist in Boston who was named Pamela Wong, and she kind of looks like her. Pamela, write in the comments. Let me know if you were an allergist or if you are an allergist in the Boston area. Because
she doesn't give a sneeze about you.
I know, but she was really, really nice, that doctor. So, all right. Hey, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. This, honestly, I can't think of any better way to have a 200th episode.
Perfect.
I'm on cloud 9 right now.
Yep.
And not just because of the Jeffersons, but we toast to you, the audience. Thank you so much.
Without you, there wouldn't be 200 episodes.
Exactly.
And you know what? Like Jen, our friend Jen just said, here's to 200 more.
And here's to 200 more. Please tell your friends about us if you enjoy the show. And other than that, we will see you
next week.